Cost of living crisis, we've all been affected somehow, but this one, this one's a humdinger.
I really want to be a mother. I've always wanted to be a mother, but the current cost of living in Melbourne, Australia, which is where I'm located, is insane.
How do you find out if you're rich in Australia? Well, have a big family and feed them lamb. This costs $107.
It's an actual joke when you've got so many people that cannot afford rent, cannot afford to live, and you've got so much government-owned vacant land.
Australian households would spend 26% of their household income on their accommodation. That has now increased to 45% as a median.
Here in Sydney, Australia, we've officially been ranked the second least affordable place to live in the entire world.
We're not in a cost of living crisis. We're in a government created crisis.
Living out here in Australia is crazy. Let me show you. 50 cans of Coke for $50.
Apparently, that is the median house price in Australia.
The cost of living has become one of the biggest worries for people today. What once felt manageable now feels heavy. Every visit to the grocery store, every rent payment, and every bill reminds people how expensive everyday life has become. Grocery prices are rising faster than most incomes. Simple items like milk, vegetables, bread, and cooking oil now cost much more than they did before. Families are cutting down on essentials, students are skipping meals, and many people are constantly checking prices just to stay within budget. What used to be normal shopping has turned into careful calculation. Rent and housing affordability have added even more pressure. Finding a place to live is harder than ever, and paying for it takes a large part of monthly income. Many people are sharing rooms, moving further away from work, or living in temporary places just to survive. The idea of saving money or planning for the future feels impossible for many. Some people are trying to adapt, some are frustrated, some are tired, but all of these voices matter. If you are feeling the pressure of rising costs, this conversation includes you. And if you're not affected yet, listening to these stories helps build understanding and empathy.
$56, mate, for 3 items, but that's 30 packs of noodles right there. That's 15 main meals. If you have 2 packs of noodles for a main meal, not exactly nutritional, but the soy milk is all I need is some coffee, and then I got my main meals, my drinks, and my snacks of sour straps for like 2 weeks for $56, less than 2 hours worth of work. Like if I was broke, like that's, you know what I mean? The cost of living is cheap, nothing.
Living out here in Australia is crazy. Let me show you. 50 cans of Coke for $50. This block of cheese, nearly $14. $4.90 on offer for chocolate. No thanks. $7 just for some milk. How am I going to survive out here?
Apparently, that is the median house price in Australia. So I'm from Adelaide. It's $1 million. We are so collectively screwed in Australia. I don't know what's going to happen to my children. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to the average Aussie household. Like, we are so screwed.
By this particular point in my life, I had a plan that I would be a mother already. Even if I didn't have a partner, I was going to go and look at, a sperm donor or IVF. I had plans in place. I really want to be a mother. I've always wanted to be a mother, but the current cost of living in Melbourne, Australia, which is where I'm located, is insane. I work full-time. My partner works full-time. We can barely afford our groceries, our rent. I have a loan repayment due to a surgery that I had to have several years ago. It was deemed elective surgery, but I had to have it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't covered by Medicare and it really should have been. I had to pay for that out of pocket. I'm still paying back the loan. You pair that with groceries, rent. It's just mad. I really feel at this point it would be irresponsible for me to have a child. I'm not getting any younger. I'm genuinely afraid that I'm not going to be able to fulfill that wish of mine. I'm not going to be able to fulfill my dream of motherhood. It really terrifies me.
$300 billion is what the government has spent on NDIS funding so far. That's the National Disability Insurance Scheme. I don't understand why, if you're not making $25,000 a month in Australia, all you need to do is enrol. You don't even need to start the course, but enrol in a certificate 4 in disability care. you can then get $25,000 a month working for any of the NDIS providers. It's the largest growing industry. Year on year, the government has doubled its expenditure. I think last year was $40 billion for the scheme. It started with like $1 billion in error payments that were made to providers back in 2018. They still haven't recovered or know the whereabouts of the funds that have been issued. Friends of mine are making tens of millions of dollars a year. A lot of politicians' family members own NDIS agencies. It's the number one thing that immigrants are doing in Australia. Immigrants don't even need to learn how to speak English to take care of people with disabilities. You just take them out for the day and you get $25,000 a month.
I am at Chadstone Shopping Centre in Melbourne. Cost of living in Australia, check this out. It is packed. Everyone is spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Can you believe it? Welcome to Australia, the lucky country.
This is from an article from The Guardian, which I found really, really interesting because it's shown that the percentage of household income which we now spend on housing costs has increased dramatically over the last 5 years. In September 2020, on average, Australian households would spend 26% of their household income on their accommodation. That has now increased to 45% as a median across Australia, which is a gigantic difference. But it gets worse if you live in Sydney, because in Sydney, 68% of your income goes towards your house. Now, these numbers are just terrifying to think that how in such a short period of time, we have lost so much spending power. We have lost 19% of our spending power in that time because it's all been reallocated towards our mortgages or our rents. And this is no choice but to affect your other spending, which is why retail is suffering right now.
68% of income is a scary number when it comes to your budgeting. Really frightening.
Yeah. And to think about, you've also got other essentials you want to buy. You need to buy your groceries. If you've got kids, you've probably got childcare or schooling and things like that. It's a really tough position where you think about, how do we actually get ourselves out of this? Because as a percentage, this is one of the worst percentages in the world. And you think about the long-term impact for what this could mean for discretionary spending.
And to the people that are really concerned about owning a house and not owning a house. Sorry, many years ago, if you bought a house for, say, $300,000, this is where people hide this information, I think. I don't know why, but my friends at the time all had houses. So I was like, what is the go? Pretty much, I bought a house before, when they were in the $300,000 mark, like the cheap, not $600, $1 million, clearly. And so repayments, you think are really expensive, but they're not. Like, now they're actually cheaper than what you guys pay in rent. Like, this is where you confuse. You think owning a house is, yes, at $600,000. I feel bad for these people owning these houses. I bought mine a billion years ago, before all this insane stuff happened over COVID.
Australia's supposed to be in a cost of living crisis. Yet you come to Sydney Airport or any airport around Australia and they're busy and packed, and there's never been a better time to travel. People are travelling overseas more than ever before, but there's a cost of living crisis. So people are really struggling, but at the same time, everyone's travelling overseas, either to Bali, Thailand, Europe, or wherever they're going. And then, I was at a fancy restaurant in Sydney just a couple of weeks ago over the Christmas and New Year, and it was packed. I was like, I can afford to eat here once per year, and it was packed just full of people. And I'm like, I don't understand. The media is selling the story of cost of living crisis and inflation and prices going up, which is true, but people have money. Well, why isn't anyone selling a story that Australians have money and they're spending money on travel, luxury goods, good food, restaurants? And people are still buying houses. I was talking to my broker a couple of weeks ago and he told me he's never been busier. People are buying houses. And we've got a cost of living crisis in Australia. Trying to figure it out.
How do you find out if you're rich in Australia? Well, have a big family and feed them lamb. This costs $107. $107. Everybody wants lamb, everybody. So you get lamb. Look, this is on sale. You get 4 lamb cutlets in each. I'm not joking. $107 This doesn't include the sides for dinner. That's just to feed your family. A little bit of lamb chops. What an absolute...
Why can't the government just set up transportable homes? Do it. Do it tomorrow. What's the issue? It's an actual joke when you've got so many people that cannot afford rent, cannot afford to live, and you've got so much government-owned vacant land. Take a look at this video clip of this poor woman. She's a single mother struggling through the housing crisis.
3 years you found yourself without a permanent rental. What happened?
I had a separation, kind of had nowhere to go. I was homeless twice in that time. I had my 6-month-old and I had my 2 older children also. There was barely anything under, say, $600 a week, which as a single mum, one income is just completely impossible.
So how did the whole situation affect you emotionally, Sky?
Nearing towards the end of it, I was in a very bad place.
I'm at an absolute newfound low in terms of my money, and I thought I'd share with you. So I had a week off for my sister-in-law's wedding, and I didn't think it would affect me as much as it did. So making no money last week definitely was like a high contributing factor, but I'm so annoyed at myself and so sick of myself for being so bad with money. When it comes towards the end of the month, that's when all my payments come out. So I am on this tax payment plan because I owed a heap of money last year for tax. And at the end of the month, I also have like my phone bill, which is pretty expensive because my phone's like on a plan. I can't really afford this, but I refuse to go back. I pay for my own private health insurance, which is like $55 a week, which is so much. But I'm like, it's for the long run. It's like a future Anna investment. So all of this money just came out at the start of the week. So altogether, it's probably like well over $300. It annoys me so much though, because it's been like Black Friday week. And so there's all these really good sales on things that I've wanted for a long time. Obviously can't buy them. But the other thing is Christmas is obviously coming up, and I usually always do all my Christmas shopping on Black Friday. Like when I say I don't have money, like it's not like I even have it in other accounts to transfer. Like the balance is from like my health insurance and stuff coming out. That's how much money I have. That's, in terms of my equity, that's me. So when I was at work the other day, this was my dinner. It cost like $3.50 and I was like, bargain, that's dinner. It's honestly ridiculous. Like $7 is what I have. And before you say anything, Locke has already sent me money this week to help with everything. Locke is so kind and always wants to help me, but I don't want to keep asking him. Like, it's really embarrassing. It is a new week though, and last week I worked a bit, and I'm actually starting full-time work now because I simply can't do this. So at least I know that money's coming in this week. And one thing that I did, which again, I know that I'm bad with money. Like, this is my own fucking problem. But I needed to do some Christmas shopping because I was like, I know exactly what I'm getting my family. And because it was on sale for Black Friday, I was like, I'll just get it now and I'll put it on Afterpay, because I've got that thing where it's like, if you order something, you don't have to pay the first installment till the following week. And I know that by the end of this week, I will have money again. Anyway, it's fucking rough out here. But of course, have to acknowledge I do have it way better than a lot of people, and it's fine, and I do have money coming in, which I'm very grateful for. But times are tough.
I'm going to give myself a backdrop for this because this one's important. Cost of living crisis, we've all been affected somehow, but this one, this one's a humdinger. People don't give a shit. Departments and organisations, they actually don't give a shit. So I've just moved house and I've just rung up Alinta Energy. That's right, A-L-I-N-T-A, Energy. Alinta Energy. I've rung them up, just in case you didn't get it, it was Alinta Energy. I rang them up to explain to them that I would like to disconnect the power at the old house because I have moved out and I am no longer there, and I would like to now cease my relationship with Alinta. Simple, right? While I was on hold for about 20 minutes, all I did was, besides the crap music that they offer you, all I did was hear a pre-recorded message said in so many different formats. Here at Alinta Energy, we care about the cost of living crisis. We know how much it affects you, and we are here to help. Help stick it right up your... Anyway, I listen to this jargon about how they've got gift vouchers and all these sorts of things. And, you know, we care about the community. We care about how it affects your family. Then I get this dude. I start talking to the guy. And then he proceeds to tell me that because I am now exiting a relationship with them, I need to have a cancellation fee. A cancellation fee of $58.45 to cease my relationship with Alinta and no longer getting bills from them and power. I said, actually what I said was this. I said, so just hang on a second, sir. I said, so what you're telling me is you are very, very aware that Australia is in the middle of a cost of living crisis, right? And you want to help the Aussie battler. But at the same time, you would also like to punish me for leaving you and then charging me, slugging me an extra $58, which might I add is, you know, a small grocery shop for a couple of nights' dinner, and then give me that bill. Just to add on to all the other costs that it costs when you're moving house. Oh, yes, I know, he says. I said, no, you don't fucking know. I was actually going to try and get through this whole video without saying fuck. But fuck! I said, you don't actually fucking know. I said, you need to change your pre-recorded message. I said, because it is a crock of fucking shit. I said, it's an absolute load of shit. You're not helping. You just put a little bit of colourful music on behind that. You put this beautiful little soft voice saying, we want to help you, but you can go and eat a dick. And I said, and I know another thing. I know for a fact that if I had told you that I was going to roll over my Alinta Energy account, ALINTA, over to my new establishment, then you would have waived that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I'm not paying it. Not paying it. I've been with them for 6 years. I'm not fucking paying it.
So, oh God, I look so tired. My kid's been up since 2:30. It's 6:30 now, yay. But I need to ask people. So people in Australia, whoever's on Centrelink and those fun things, you know, not that it's our fault, it's just situations that have got us in these situations. I look after my aged mother and I have 2 children. One that's going to go to school next year and one that's 2. And you know, we pay for food, we pay for our, you know, our accommodation, all that sort of stuff. How are people coping? What are you guys doing? Are you after paying your groceries? Are you in debt? I have used most of my savings. I had a lot of savings, and the last year alone I've used a lot. And
here in Sydney, Australia, we've officially been ranked the second least affordable place to live in the entire world for 2 years in a row. Both Sydney and Melbourne have ranked 2nd and 5th place on the chart. We are just behind Hong Kong in terms of least affordability, which obviously tells us there is a housing market crisis. Now, you do have places like San Francisco, Honolulu, Hawaii, Los Angeles that are still in the lower part of the top 10 least affordability. However, the top 5 of both Sydney and Melbourne have ranked the least most unaffordable place to live. As you can see here, this is the rental increase alone from 2020 to 2023. You can literally see the percentage of how much the rent has been increased in the last 3 to 4 years alone. So this only means that it's not only just become expensive for the owners of the property, it's also becoming more expensive as tenants and as just as average renters to actually rent a property in Sydney. Now, if I want to look at an average place, just a normal 1-bedroom place in Sydney, New South Wales, about 15 to 20 minutes away from the city, this is how much you're looking at paying. Just for a 1-bedroom property, you're looking at paying 680 Australian dollars for a 1-bedroom with a parking spot, a bathroom, and that's excluding all utilities, gas, water, electricity. That's literally just the rent alone. Now, this is a graph showing every single state in Australia and what their average weekly spend on groceries is. Now, this is for a single person. In New South Wales alone, you're looking at $232, and that's actually been quite nice with the actual grocery spend. I would say at least between $250 to $280 is your average weekly spend in New South Wales. This means that your average spend for groceries and rent alone is between $910 to $950. As you can see, guys, here, your average weekly income is $1,300 before tax in Sydney, Australia. So literally, after your rent and groceries alone, you're almost hitting $1,000. And once you factor in other things like your utilities and bills, your average person is only left with a few $100s. I personally think that Sydney, Australia is extremely expensive, and to live here, even as a single person without family, is extremely expensive to live in. Now, there are so many other options to live and so many other different countries to live around the world that are far less expensive than here. I'm not saying that it's a bad country to live in. There's a lot of positive things about living in Australia. However, as far as affordability, is extremely expensive to live here. Now, if you guys like more tips and you want more different topics about this, feel free to follow the account. Take care.
We're not in a cost of living crisis. We're in a government created crisis. So let me explain in plain Aussie terms. And it's this: the government is flat out broke. Not just kind of broke, we are historically broke. The federal debt sits at $907 billion. The state and territory debt, $506 billion. So that's a total of $1.4 trillion in debt. That's over $50,000 per Aussie. And you haven't even borrowed a cent yet. And the scary part? Well, that's forecasted to blow out in the next couple of years. So what does a broke government do? They've only got 3 ways to survive, and they've chosen the worst one. First and foremost, you'd cut spending, right? You'd stop funding useless departments, you'd stop shipping $5 billion overseas worth of foreign aid, and you'd stop throwing cash at green slogans, DEI execs, and diversity consultants making $200K a year. But nope. Too many hands in the jar. Too many votes at stake. The second option would be to boost productivity. That would mean bringing back manufacturing to Australia, supporting the natural resource sector, and backing Aussie industries. Instead, we shut down coal and gas, tax farmers and tradies into oblivion, and let China build everything while some regions are hit with record unemployment rates. And their idea of boosting productivity? Just flood the place with more people. But we'll get to that in a second. Now, the third option, raise taxes. When they say we'll just tax the rich, it's code for we'll tax everyone. Just you wait and see. And every time they float a new tax, it's proof they just can't manage money and the budget. They spend more than they earn, so they tax you to fill the gap. Why do you think they're quietly testing a housing tax in Victoria, as per recently leaked documents? Right, this is the classic playbook. Step 1, break it. Step 2, blame the market. Step 3, tax the people who can't fight back. Right now, layer in mass immigration. They've just announced they're lifting international students to $295,000 a year, which Albo and his mates said they weren't going to do. And all while they do that, rent's going through the roof and Aussies are sleeping in cars. Why add more pressure to a broken system? Because for every new arrival, that equals money. More for unis, more for visa fees, and money in future taxes. But they don't care that you can't afford to live. This isn't about compassion, it's about cash flow. So here's the truth. Our government had 3 options. Cut waste, build productivity in Australia, and respect the people who already live here. Instead, they chose mass immigration, new taxes, and a bigger bureaucracy. Because it's easier to sell the country off than to fix it. And if you dare say this part out loud, they label you. Well, guess what? Label the shit out of me. I don't care. Because there's nothing progressive about watching your own people suffer, while the government increases debt, raises immigration, and prints money. This isn't just a mismanagement, it's a flat out betrayal. What's your thoughts?
As we come to the end of this video, it's important to stop and think about what we've just heard. The stories and opinions shared here are not just complaints or passing thoughts. They reflect the everyday reality of many people trying to manage the rising cost of living. This is not about luxury or extra comfort. It's about affording basic needs and maintaining a sense of stability in daily life. For many households, grocery shopping has become a stressful experience. Prices of basic items like vegetables, fruits, milk, rice, and cooking oil continue to rise, while incomes often stay the same. People are comparing prices more than ever, cutting back on essentials and changing eating habits just to stay within budget. What used to be a simple weekly routine now feels like a financial decision that requires constant attention. Rent and housing affordability add another heavy layer to this pressure. A large portion of income goes straight into paying rent, leaving very little for savings or emergencies. Many people are forced to share spaces, move frequently, or live far from their workplaces and schools. The idea of owning a home feels out of reach for many, and even renting a stable place has become uncertain. This lack of housing security affects mental health, family life, and overall peace of mind. One thing that stands out in all these stories is how common this struggle has become. Students, working professionals, families, migrants, and long-term residents are all facing similar challenges. Different lives and different backgrounds, but the same worry at the end of the month. The cost of living is no longer an individual problem. It is a shared experience. What makes this situation harder is the feeling of not being understood. Many people are told to budget better, work harder, or adjust their lifestyle. But the reality is that many are already doing their best. When prices rise faster than wages, effort alone is not always enough. Acknowledging this reality is important because people deserve empathy, not judgment. When people share their stories openly, it reminds us that behind every statistic is a human being trying to cope. Talking about the cost of living openly helps reduce shame and builds a sense of community. If you are watching this and feeling overwhelmed by rising costs, please know that you are not alone. Feeling stressed or tired does not mean you are weak. These are difficult times, and many strong people are struggling quietly. Reaching out, talking about it, and sharing your experience can make a difference, even if it's just feeling heard. Understanding what others are going through helps create empathy and awareness. A society where people struggle to afford food and housing affects everyone, from workplaces and education to health and community well-being. We want this channel to be a place where honest conversations can happen. Your opinion matters. Your story matters. Whether you agree with what was shared or have a different experience, we encourage you to leave a respectful comment. These discussions may not solve the cost of living crisis overnight, but they help bring attention to issues that need to be addressed. The cost of living crisis is complex, and there are no simple solutions, but awareness is a powerful first step. Every shared story and every honest conversation brings us closer to understanding and change. Thank you for watching till the end. Thank you to everyone who shared their experience and listening with an open mind.